How's it going, Scrub Gamers? It's your boy Scrub Games coming at you with a juicy new piece of content for you to enjoy. But before we do get into the topic of the video, I just want to let you know how you can help support the channel, and that is by checking out Firestorm Games using my affiliate link in the description box below. Because Firestorm Games offer a whole host of products for almost every kind of hobby there is, be it Dragon Ball Super, Pokemon, One Piece, you name it, and they'll likely have it, and at some quality prices too. So just make sure to click the link below and check them out to see the whole host of products they offer while helping support the channel. And also, remember, there's another way to help out the channel, and that's by dropping a like, leaving a comment on the video, and best of all, hitting that subscribe button to keep up to date with my content when it drops. Because I'm still on the road to 1k subs and looking to hit that by the year's end. But now we've got all that sorted, let's dive into the topic of the video. Alright, Scrub Gamers, so let's get into the topic of the video, which is asking the question, has Red Jiren returned? So, as you've probably seen, well, hopefully everybody's watching this scene, that in the new anniversary box for 2023, we have some support for Red Jiren, and that comes in the form of the Z Battle card, and also the little one-drop Dispo. Now, with this support, I think I did cover it when I covered it in my previously in DBS video that happens every week at the end of the week on Sunday, cover any news from Bandai, and I covered my thoughts as going over all spoilers from that week, and I feel that it opens up the possibility for like 3 different deck lists. All it can do pretty well, it gets benefits. So you've got the one, like you see on screen, the one where you're using Toppo, because most of the effects that we're getting support for in the anniversary box, sorry, not draft box, anniversary box. And with other parts of the archetype, work with the specific unison that was brought out with the deck, being the Toppo unison, which is pretty good. And then you've got the better unisons, like Red has quite a few good unisons, and the better one that's not coming down and taking too long to get out, because 3-cost unison for an aggro deck is not very good for synergy, but a 2-cost one that's just great, like the SS4 Gogeta Unison. That's a really good one, so we got a version with that. And then there's always the possibility to not even bother with Unisons and just go for the Unison-less build to be as aggressive as possible. So I thought rather than just do 3 different Red Jiren deck profiles, I might as well do one deck profile covering 3 different lists. So that way, if you're interested in Jiren, if you're like me and love like Jiren as a character, think he's pretty badass, and you love the Jiren decks that are brought out, and you're a big fan of the Red Jiren, like me, then you can watch one video, see all 3 deck lists, and I'll go over them in as in depth as possible. So what I'm going to do with the list, I'm going to go in depth over like the different separate deck choices. Like most of the things are going to be the same, just like so. The same things you're going to notice with the deck list is that the core of the deck, being the Jiren cards, are going to be the same. You're always going to have 4 each of these 1-drops, because they're the 3 Jiren 1-drops you've got that start off the chains, and you've got the Searcher, the Cantrip that also filters to the Searcher in the drop, and the everyone that's also never Cantrip and a never target. Well, also in this version, being the Toppo build, has a never function with Toppo. Then you got the evolved targets. So first lot you go into the 4-drops. The 2 4-drops, one that comes down like they all replace themselves. The 4 and the 5. So both of the 4 you got the 15k one, so the weaker of them, which replaces itself by drawing a card, but then also minus a sight by 15k, and there's a free EX evolve, which is good. And you got the everyone that's a free EX evolve, but it's 19k, so a little bit stronger, and also replaces itself by drawing a card. And the other effects on there aren't at all useful. It's just there as a never evolved target, so you can save the 15k when you want a minus for those situations, and still have this as more targets to go over to 1-drops and get some easy, cheap, free aggression and many bodies. Then you got the 5-drop that comes on top, that can evolve on top of a 1-drop or a 4-drop. That is a dual attacker, 19k, has an auto where when it comes down, you give something 1k, you give one of the U11 cards extra 1k power for the turn, and also draw a card. And it's got a permanent, which gives it a bit of protection, which is what makes it one of the best evolved targets in the deck. Being that if it would be removed from your board by a skill, then you get to either detach 2 cards from underneath it instead, or take a life instead, so it stays there, which is pretty good. And then you've got the 8-drop being the big boss card, comes down for 2 energy on top of either the 4 or the 5-drop. Minus is something through barrier by 35k, and then it has the activate main, which allows you to attach a card from underneath it to restand itself and give your leader an extra 5k power for the turn. So a really good and really nice boss monster for this deck. And then the other kind of staples we've got, when you're always going to be playing in any Jiren deck, guaranteed, is going to be the yellow promo Jiren from set 9. This is one that was meant to work with, was brought out to work with the yellow Jiren one. It's all about getting those little one-drop weenies with barrier, like protecting themselves, to kind of get boards that way. You've got a U11 on board for your leader to then go take a life to not take any damage for the turn. And this works really well because we also got one drop target, being the Jirens, and also you just discard it from your hand, activate its effect, and play out 2 1-drops from your drop that are U11. So you can have them, you can easily for free play out 2 1-drops and start evolving on top of them. And it's really nice because it can also, as a different benefit to just having evolved targets, is turn this simple 5k combo from your hand into 2 5k combos on board, which is pretty nice. And then with the Unison package, with the Unison decks, you've got Unison package being you've got Unison. In this case, we've got the Toppo one because it's meant to work more with the support that actually gets benefits from Toppo, and you also got the Yamcha to go with it. Because if you were using free cost or more Unisons, which we don't in any of the Jiren builds, then you would use Videl as a better one. But since we're not, we've got Yamcha as our one because it's limited. Counterplay for free, that goes in every red deck that runs a Unison package, that's 2 or less. And you also got 1 copy of Dispo for the enemy. This is really nice because since we have a Unison build, we got as a way, this can be a free negate by using its effects to negate, limit 1, just negate the attack. If you negate a lead attack, a leader can't attack any more times for the turn, so if your opponent's got a leader can attack multiple times, you can put a halt to that. That's an extra benefit, but not a main benefit. The main benefit is that if you've got a Unison on board, you can use its counter attack skill to get the attack and play itself in rest mode by taking 2 markers of Unison instead of paying its energy cost. So if you've got a Unison on board, load of markers on, you can use this as a free negate and also gets you Psychic on board. You don't care about if it's in board because you can combo off that same turn because it comes in rest mode. But if it survives, you can then combo off. It's just more that it could be a free negate that your opponent might not expect. So those are the 2 bits of Unison package, and then we got some staples in red. Like for every list for Jiren, every deck normally, if they can run a secret, you run a secret. Like it comes to that point in the game now where every deck runs a secret rare. It just depends. Like some decks have a specific Unison that's good for them, and some decks just go by what they feel like with the different color secret rares they have in their color. And then if they don't have one in their color that fits well, you've got the black secret rares that are more generic because they can just go to any deck. Even though they're starting to get some that are more for just black decks now. And in this case, for this deck, looking into red doesn't have many secret rares that are cheap costing. I can work very well with aggro. You've got the best one at the moment for red is the Vegeta. Well, you got the Vegeta secret rare, which comes down at least turn 4 because you've got to pay 4 energy for it. That wipes the board. You can attack with it, but it's not often you're attacking it. You're normally dropping it down so you can then minus your opponent's leader by 5k for the turn, and then use the effect to send all their board and Unison to the drop and deal 1 damage to them. Like put a crit of life essentially. But that's turn 4 and we're an aggro deck, so we don't really wait until turn 4 to just do that and waste 4 energy for 1 little turn. That can also potentially be stopped. And you've got the other one being, that's normally pretty good in red at the moment, being the SS4 Vegito Zeno Overrun one. But the thing with that is that requires you to get the full benefit of that, requires your leader to be a mono red leader. I think it's a mono red leader or a red leader, which our leader is unfortunately not. It's not a Saiyan leader. It's a Universe 11 Pride Trooper, I think alien maybe still. So fortunately we can't use that one, and the Vegeta is too expensive, so we've gone for ones outside of red. And the best one that really fits with this kind of aggro deck is Pan, because Pan's got 2 functions in this deck, which is really nice. So once you hit 3 or more energy, you can use it as a free floodgate, because it gets reduced by 2 for every battle card between you and your opponent's board. So if you've got 2 and your opponent's got 2, it reduces down by 8, because 2 for yours, 4 for your, 2 each for yours and 2 each for theirs, coming to a total of 8. And it's got a counter attack which you negate attack. Well, you don't negate attack, but you play it itself. And then your opponent can't attack with battle cards for the turn, and then you can't use the counter skill again for the rest of the game. And that's on there because before we got the whole thing with ultimate skills, ultimate cards being removed from the game if they leave the battle area. It used to be that you could lose this and then get it back and use it again, and that's just the reason why they didn't want to cycle that, but instead they changed it, so that's kind of irrelevant. And so that's why you can use it very nice defensively when you get turn 3, or you can use it offensively, because with the permanent that reduces this cost by 2 for every battle card in either player's battle area. That's not just during a certain turn, during your opponent's turn, that's just permanently, just while there are 4 battle cards between yours and opponent's battle areas, it's reduced down to 0, meaning that you can use it as a free negate defensively, or you can just play it out as a free 40k beat stick, which can help finish off games as well, which is really good. So that's why I've gone for that secret rare. Now the rest of it, with the extra cards, they can vary. I like to put in 1 Violent Raise because it helps with some big monsters. Like if your opponent drops Cooler, start it for the turn, because otherwise I can get quite a few hits in. Make you put a lot of cards in your Z energy and get a lot of hits in, and red doesn't really have a counterplay to deal with that outside of a lot of minusing, which, yeah, this deck doesn't do a lot of minusing defensively or like that much in one turn, especially through barrier. Like you can minus with the Jiren, but then you have to hope that your 5-drop's still on board and survives the cooler, and then you've got a Unison to then use the leader's effect to evolve on your opponent's turn. So we normally have 1 Violent Raise in there because it's a very good effect, and then the only other card we really normally always keep is the Uranus Unison, because it's one of the best series of best lot of super combos in the game is from set 11. Like every color's got one where as long as all your energy is the same cut, all your energy is red, then you get to bottom deck a card, draw 2 and gain 10k combo. So it's a really good way to filter through. And most decks nowadays are running this. Maybe green runs Paragus instead because it's that unique super combo that green has. It's the best one in the game. But we have that, and then you've got Evertex. Like in this deck, we've got the Wolfang Fist because we're playing a Unison version. King Vegeta to get through some of those 1-cost extra card floodgates, and then also like overwhelm a choice. So you normally always have an overwhelm. It depends on your personal preference. I like SS4 Vegeta because it's removal without worrying. Like, because there's some things that you might not be able to minus fully down, or are like way too big to fully minus. So this is a way to just get rid of it, remove it, and have a 30k beat stick for free by just having 16 drop to overwhelm with. And then lastly, we got the tech card for this build. We got the Gohan rare because it's just a very nice one defensively to help out, and it's mainly used as a nice defensive tool that is quite cheap as well. So with this build, we've gone for this is a Toppo build. So this is the main deck of the main part of the deck. So we've gone for 4 of each of our Jiren cards, apart from only 3 of the big boss card, because it's got the same principle as a boss card like we had when the game first started, where boss cards were 1-cost 10k with the combo. So that way, even though you got these powerful cards, if you put too many of them, they can clog your hands. So that's why we only got 3 of them, because it's really good. You can search it with most of the effects. It search for a Jiren card, and it comes out quite cheap for 2 energy. So we want 3 copies because you can drop multiple in a game, but you don't want to have a full 4 because 4 is a bit too many and they can potentially clog. Because since we got like things like a Unison in the deck as well, we don't want too many to clog, and at least you got super combo if you have too many in hand. Bottom deck is so safe back in the deck to then draw back into. And one nice little benefit with the Toppo is, as well as for this version, we're only using 1 card of the support, and that is the Z Battle card, which we'll get to in a little bit. But because we're using the Z Battle card, we're making as best use of the Toppo as possible. So if we just bring up Toppo, and okay, we can't bring up with this, but essentially with Toppo he's got ways to make himself gain markers. So there's 2 he's a 1-cost specified Unison. He's got 2 mark skills. The first one is at the end of your turn, choose up to 1 of your red battle cards with entry cost of 1 in your hand and play it in rest mode. So plussing up a marker and throwing out a 1-drop, so that way it's there so you can evolve, because with the leader, you can evolve on your opponent's turn when they attack by using its auto, taking a mark off your Unison to then evolve on that attack, which is pretty good. So that's how you can evolve on your opponent's turn. So they go, oh, I'm going to attack you 1-drop. You go, okay, I'm going to evolve this 1-drop into a 4-drop. Now it's a bit harder to kill because it's a bit more powerful, and get the draw and stuff off the evolve target as well. And Not only that, but it can also gain more markers a turn because it's got an auto, which is once per turn. When one of your red battle cards with evolves, this card gets Viking power and add a marker to it. So you can gain 2 markers a turn by evolving once per turn and using the +1. So you can rack up a lot of markers. So what you want to do with those markers is kind of keep a load of markers ready for some of your spirit boosts, like for your lead, the spirit boost to evolve in your opponent's turn, using Dispo, and also as well as that for its ever marker skill, which is -7. So 7 seems like a lot of markers, but because then you get 2 a turn, you can get that quite far up, and that is its -7 is an activate main, where if your opponent has 3 or more life, you deal 1 damage to your opponent, which is really good because especially when your opponent's at 3 life and you want to go in and with a double striker, your 8-drop Zenith of power, you want to go in for a game on that, but you're at 3 life and you know that if you go in all in with it, they're going to be left with 1 life. You -7 off your Unison, deal them a damage, they're now down to 2, you swing all in on your Zenith, and there you put everything to it, and if they can survive, that's unfortunate. If they can't, that's it, you secure game there. And we've got ways to cheat out the Unison as well, so you've got ways you can play out the Unison for free, and that's one of the big benefits, and the getting the full value out of this out of the promo 1-drop Jiren being Jiren Temper Form. Now this, in any other build, is simply just a cantrip. It's you play it off the lead or from you play it out by a skill or hardcasting it, and it just comes down because it's got auto when it's played. You may draw a card, and that's what it's going to do in most decks. In most versions, it's going to just draw your card. But if you're running the Toppo version, you can get an extra part of this auto, and that is if you don't if you don't draw, play up to 1 Toppo Force of Obliteration freehand with a marker on it. So you can kind of cheat out the Unison without paying energy. So you can save the energy for other things like evolving, using some of the other cards to help with it, or just do other things, which is quite nice. And it's also got an activate main as well. So if it's in the drop and you're playing Toppo Unison, you get an extra benefit, which is limit 1. Send this card from your drop to your warp. Choose one of your Toppo Force of Obliteration in your Unison area and add a marker to it. So that's a great way. So this card's fantastic with the Toppo build because not only can you get it out without paying energy, so you can save the energy for ever plays, it more evolves, more pressure, because we're an aggro deck, you want to be aggressive. You can also even play the new Z Battle card as well, which is good, because that does require energy to play. You can chuck it out for free with a marker on, and also what's in your drop, use it to get more markers on Unison to get that markers building, so that way it can reach its -7 a little bit easier. Because once it's in the drop, the only useful thing it's going to do is potentially be played out from the Jiren Pride of Unison 11 or yellow promo, so that way you can get on board to evolve on top of. But outside of that, it's not going to be. It's just a cantrip you get out to start evolving. That's all it does. But this deck, this version, it's got a little bit more of a benefit. So that's really only special bit about this version of it is that using the Toppo, you got the Toppo Unison, which actually is quite useful. I was playing it originally before Red got hit a load because of Sin and Gogeta back when they were first released. But during tempered form, that also gets a bigger benefit of having this Toppo Unison, which is really nice to keep the markers flowing on it. And if we check the Z deck, we can have a look at the Jiren Righteous Pride Trooper. So this is the Z deck as well. It's not going to change much. Well, I've changed a little bit because you're not going to run this in the other ones that aren't running Toppo Unison, because otherwise you don't want to be paid free for this, because it won't even get out. You need to play in the Toppo Unison just to get full benefit, to get this out for cheap, and also be able to evolve on top of it to get its full benefit. But this card is really good because if you're playing the Toppo Unison, you get the permanent to reduce the cost, because even though it's pretty free, the permanent says if your leader is a Red Jiren Unison, or Red Jiren, and you have a Toppo Force Obliteration Unison with 4 more markers in play, you reduce the energy cost of this card in all areas by 2. So that means you reduce it down to 1, play out for 1 energy from the deck, and then even more in the battle area be 1. And that's relevant because remember that the 4 and 5 drop evolve targets for the Jiren evolve cards, they evolve on top of a 4 drop. The 4 drop evolves only on a 1 drop, which this will be, and the 5 drop falls into a 4 drop or 1 drop or a 4 drop, which once again this will be. And you get the big benefit when you go into the 8 costs with this because of its activate main /battle effect, which is limit 1. which means you need to remove this card from the game. Remove this card from the game from under a Red Jiren card. Then that's the cost of it. And then you get to choose up to one of your Red Jiren battle cards and switch to active mode. Choose one of your Toppo Unisons and switch to active mode, and the Unison gains blocker for the turn. And additionally, if one of your Unisons has 5 or more markers on it, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and it gains or Unisons, and it gets minus 15k power for the turn. Now the big benefit of that is that you get to restand one of your Jiren battle cards. And remember, with the 8-drop, you get to use the activate main to then go ahead and restand an 8-drop. So you get to drop the 8-drop down, swing with it, which is a 35k double striker. That's a big bit of pressure, forcing through 2 damage. And then you get to use the activate main to restand it and give your leader a 5k boost for the turn. So that way your lead is a bit bigger, and this 8-drop can attack again, so you can attack again with it. Then you can activate this effect, activate main/battle, either after or during the attack, to then remove this card from underneath it, to restand it again so you can get a third attack, making it literally a triple attacker, and also restand your Unison, so your Unison can attack if you want to, and also then have it and use it to gain blocker defensively, but it's more you restand the 8-drop to attack for a third time, which is pretty good. And then defensively, you can use it to detach from underneath a 5-drop to have it in active mode so your opponent can't keep trying to attack over it, because otherwise that's the best way they can get rid of it easier without using seals to try and force it to be removed. And even turn your Unison into a blocker as well, which is pretty good. And maybe get an extra bit of minusing if you've got 5 or more markers on Unison when you do so. But that's the big benefit of it in this build, is that the Toppo Unison can be free played off the promo 1-drop Jiren. The Unison can build up a load of markers, and it allows you to use this Jiren from your Z deck, which then when you evolve into it, you can get more attacks out of stuff, like even having the 5-drop, swing dual attack, then restand from this to swing for a third time, or even do the same for the 8-drop and allow to swing multiple times. So it allows you to get multiple hits in, and if you can't find a 1-drop or don't want to use 1-drop and you've got some Z energy charge, you can bring this out as a 1-drop because it's not unique. So you can bring it out from the Z deck, not use anything from your hand, and have more evolved targets. So you get more. It's just nice to have more evolved targets for your 4-drop and 5-drops and stuff, and mainly having this to then play a 5-drop on top of it, or then play out this, play a 4-drop, then play a 5-drop is really, really good. So that is the benefit of this deck. So now what we're going to do is going to have a look at the next version, which is the standard one with the Gogeta Unison. So this is the other one, the one with the Gogeta Unison. And as you can see, no Toppo. We've instead got the same lineup of Jiren stuff at the top. All the same Jiren cards, going to be same throughout all the different version decks. That's just a standard core of the Jiren deck. And everything's essentially the same, apart from now, like we basically the only difference being we've got the Gogeta Unison. That's the only difference in the main deck. We've got a better Unison, and it flows exactly the same. This is the one I've basically been playing for a while. Like, it's going to be different from when I've done well with it and won events with it, because since back then I had multiple Yamchas, I even Piccolo, ever aggressive cards, and even the Vegeta, or the Vegeta that goes in the Vegeta deck for a counterplay wasn't locked out lead at the time. So yeah, even though it's lost a lot of things, it's still the same. And even though there's not much difference, the Unisons make a big difference, because with the Toppo, as I said, you can cheat it out. It's got different ways to play. It's got a bit of burn. It's got more benefits from the new support. Whereas this one doesn't get that support. So the 1-drop Jiren has tempered form. That's literally just a cantrip. Just when you play, draw a card. That's all it's going to be doing, and then be another type to be brought out by the yellow Jiren promo, just to get more evolved targets, more targets on the board to evolve on top of. And the Unison is a really good one, and it kind of survives a little bit better because one, it's 15k instead of 5k. Now I know the Toppo can gain 5k when you evolve in it, and you can evolve to your opponent's turn, take a marker out, evolve, then it become a 10k until it loses a marker to kind of defend a bit easier. But still, it's then quite low, whereas this one's a 15k. And they both kind of gain markers, just they have different functions. So This one, you can't cheat out, you have to pay. You have on hopefully you want to get on turn 2, drop it down, and you get an auto. The auto is really nice in that it replaces itself, because you get to look at the top 3 cards, add any red card on it, and that's excellent, because any red card, I mean, if you see a super combo, you can snatch it up. If you find your one off your hand, just snatch it up, so you got it ready with the Unison to be able to drop that. Or if you find a Jiren piece you need, snatch it up. Wolfang Fist, basically any red card in there, which is what, all but 6 cards in the deck you can grab. So you rarely, if you hit 3 non-red cards, you're going to be very, very unlucky, and for your pain. But you're never really going to whiff. It's going to be very, very rare you whiff off that. But at least you replace it in hand. And then with its markers, it comes out with 2 markers when you play, because you're paying 2 for it, because that's the minimum requirement. You need to pay is 2 energy. And it comes out with 2 markers. Then its plus skill is +2. So like Toppo, how you can gain 2 markers a turn, you can do the same as that, but with less reliance on everything to do that. Like with a Toppo, you need the +1 itself to gain 1, and then you would evolve just using outside help to gain a second one, which this is just simply +2 to do the same thing as what the Toppo does, just directly in the turn, not at the end of the turn, which is play a 1-drop from your hand onto the board in rest mode. Yeah, a 1-drop red battle card from your hand in rest mode. And that does the same thing as Toppo, just later on the turn, and it's a +1, so it's got a better part of that marker. But the Toppo offers something different and has support around it, where this one doesn't. This is just the best red Unison that's a 2 cost. That also offers help, and also as well, you might be wondering, like, well, with Toppo, it's got a good payoff when it gets to 7 markers. It can -7 to deal with damage as long as your opponent's 3 life or higher. What can this one do? Well, this one's got a good marker skill that minuses to get for good benefit, but it isn't -7, it's -4, so not as difficult to get up to. And that is an activate battle, allowing it to gain 15k and double strike to be an extra finisher if need be in your Unison as well. And you can gain markers if your opponent leaves it alone and you don't use much of the evolving on your opponent's turn. You can just rack at the markers and then just go, I'm going to try and use this as a way as finish. So that's the benefit of this. And the rest of the deck is exactly the same, apart from, as I said, the Jiren tempered form is just a cantrip. That's it. And with the Z deck for this, there's not much really. You're just going to go for more generic stuff. So the Z deck I have for this is quite simple. You have 4 copies of Rush Attack, because yeah, that's one of the best red units Z battle cards in the game. It's not as busted now that Gogeta and Sin are no longer around, but it's still a very strong one. And if you can rack it for a lot of comboing, enough Z battle cards to make use of this. And if you don't have a way to play, it's just extra options. Then you got the Vegeta. Could actually put this up to 2 and the Rush Attack to 3, and surmounting the impossible up to 2, because sometimes you might want to go on Awaken turn 3. And even though your leader has Self-Awakening built in, it just wants a turn, take a life, to then look at top 7 to play out a 1-drop, which if you do that turn after turn without your opponent doing anything to help you awaken, that awakens you to turn 4. So sometimes you might want to use Vegeta to be able to take an Everlife, put yourself down to 4 by turn 3, then awaken and start doing stuff like being able to attack and gain value. So maybe not just in case the first one gets counterplay, because then you do get the energy back when you awaken, so you pay that 1 energy, and you get it back on the awaken by attacking 1 and drawing 1. And you got everyone's for utility, like defending on life is another way to just burn your opponent, and if they're at 3 life, play this out, burn them down from 3 to 2, so that way you can finish off with a double striker. And Android 17 is just handy for some of those more defensive matchups, when you want something to kind of protect yourself and it's going to go a later game. This has kind of helped me in one. It helped me in one game. I can't remember when I was playing Red Jiren for one of my locals. I had this down, dropped this out, because then I could block, restart it to block again, and it's got barrier to defend itself, and it just, for longer games, you can use it as helpful. Because remember, your Z deck is just utility, it's always there accessible, and sometimes it's nice, even if you're an aggressive deck, have longer game options, because sometimes you'll come against a deck that won't just lay down and let you just smack them around. They'll actually try to fight back, keep it going so they can play more things later on, and you can then make use of that by playing things that are a bit more costly than if you're being aggressive. So that closes out the second list. Now we're going to go to the last list, which was the Unison list, and that's got a bit more going because it's using the other side support from the anniversary box. So let's have a look at that. So here we have it for the Unison list build. So yeah, this one is, as we can see, once again, the top row is exactly the same as the other one, so there's no need, like, you got the Three one drops we play a full four of to start off our chain because you got to build up. You need to go from the one drop to the 4 or 5 drop to the 8 drop, and you want loads so that way you can bring out more. Because even then, just the 4 drops and the 5 drops on their own, without going the 8 drops, are quite decent attack. It's been like 15, 19k, puts pressure on, and it nice little effects as well. Like it's nice with the Jiren and the Avenger, allowing you to search to help get consistency from the drop, and even put there things that you want in the drop as well. Like if you want to main side in things like Zenkai, that's a great way to put things in the drop. And yet the Voltart's all the same, because the great thing about this is that the one drops replace themselves. They like come out, they draw you, like they replace stuff that searcher try and search, hopefully won't whiff and find a Red Jiren card. And then the everyone's just cantrip to replace itself. The fours and the 5 drops, when they come down, they draw themselves to replace themselves. So you're digging through your deck. It's the only the 8 drop doesn't draw, but that would be a bit nutty if it did draw plus do all the stuff it does. So when you're evolving and doing your plays, spamming your board, you're just basically digging through your deck, thinning out as possible to find things that you want, find all your non-searchable cards, and then big boss card and your promo to be able to drag them out and start off your combo. Well, start off your evolve chains as well. Because as I forgot the say as well, when you're awakened, your leader has a nice little ability where every time it's limit 2, so you could use it 2 times a turn. But every time you evolve, your leader every time you evolve with a Red Jiren, you gain 5k on your lead, and that's 2 times. So if you evolve twice in a turn, so going from 1 to 4 or 5 and into 8, your leader gains an extra 10k. So you can make your leader basically a 30k base if you evolve twice to gain 5k from itself, and use the 8 drops effect to restand itself and give your leader 5k boost. So make your leader a base 30k swing each turn is just amazing. Now as we go to the second row, that's where we can see the differences, where we have no more Unison now. So with the extra cards, you can see that before we had one raise as that one good tech of raise for the main, and 3 Wolfang Fist, because Wolfang Fist can be played for free. Whatever Unison, and your Unisons are going to be there with a lot of markers, quite sticky and hard to remove, and those are really good cards to help. So your opponent's trying to go, oh yeah, so your Unison's 15k, swing 50, you can just go Wolfang Fist, minus down to 0, and it's gone. Or even have a way with the 4 drop to get things at 25k, things like that, which is pretty handy. But since we don't have a Unison, we have to pay energy for that Wolfang Fist, and that doesn't feel great. So we've gone to replace it with something else that you can potentially pay for free, and that is testing opposition. This one's a token negate, so basically, as you know, you can pay its cost by taking a life if you're at 5 or less life instead of paying its cost. So helps. So once you get the 4 life and awaken, you then have 3 life you can use to kind of defend yourself. That you like either taking damage if you don't want to combo out, or use for things like this. So you've got 3 of them, and you've got 3 lives until you get down to 1 to use this. So kind of makes sense to defend yourself. Puts a token blocker on the board, so that way you can block and never attack. And the great thing with this one, like it is with red and black, no, sorry, green and black, because this is red, you can use it as combo power as well. This is the token that comes with combo power, so if you don't use it to block, and you got next turn, so once the turn passes, it no longer has blocker, because it's only for the turn it comes out, it's got blocker. So it's not dead, because even though it's lost blocker, it's still got a 5k combo. You can use that to attack, and then combo off if need be. And since we don't have the Unison package, we don't need the Yamcha, we don't need the Unison, and well, we didn't do my fist, but we've replaced those already. So we've changed out a few cards for it. So we've kept in the King Vegeta Hidden Ambitions, because at the moment that's pretty good tech to help deal with 1 cost 3 negates that like our floodgates, which is really handy. So have that 1 in, because once you get to, because we're playing mono red energy, have that to just go stop that, bring this out, let the attack go through with your 8 drop, push for the kill, and that's really good counter that red's got. Got super combo, exact same, best super combo. We still have the Goten, because it's a really good card for defense and kind of like put a bit of pressure on. It's mainly there as a nice defensive tool to help against certain decks. And it's just the red SGR, and it can come down for quite cheap. And even then, you can potentially it's got the potential to come down as a 25k double striker, which I've never pulled off, but it has that chance. And we got the same Unison, same overall on the secret rare, because for me that is what I personally prefer. Like the secret rare, I reckon, is the one that's set in stone as the best secret rare for the deck. But the overall, remember, the overall is your choice. If you feel like this one isn't great, switch it up, try it out, give it a try with different ones. You can even side them, because what I normally do is I main one and side another what I feel could be useful. And in certain matchups where I feel the other ones could be useful, side them in. And so we've replaced the other cards that weren't useful. So we've got the We've got the Dispo in the deck, so this is the Everspit support, and this allows you to get a bit more draw. And what I've incorporated it in with is Kunchi Threaded Energy. Now this is the yellow one because there is a red one and yellow one that kind of do the same thing. The only problem is this yellow one has a permanent to give all your Universe 11 cards with entry cost 2 or less barrier, but it does every single one including itself, so even though it's on the board it protects itself. The red one, however, gives all your other ones barrier but not itself. So the red one that's on color that you can potentially get out from your lead and stuff doesn't protect itself, so it can easily get removed. Then you can start removing the rest of your stuff. Whereas this one protects itself, and you don't mind just using the Jiren Pride of comboing this off, letting it go drop, and using your Jiren Pride of Universe 11 to bring it back out. Sure, I have skills to get it for the turn, but then once your turn passes, it's then their in effect barrier. So we've got that on board. You're not really gonna charge it, but then it's just a better one. That you can try the red one if you want it instead to see if that is useful. But the kind of aim is to get both Dispo and Kunchi on board at the same time using the Jiren Pride of Universe 11. They won't have the skills. They have the skills to get for the turn, but once you pass, they'll be reinstated, both protected by barrier and have the Dispo ready to have its effect. Because it's actually quite a decent one. Just without protection, it's kind of prone to being a tie. As your opponent look at that, thinking they're going to draw more cards by having that. The longer it's on the board, the more they're going to get advantage of it. So you want to get rid of it. Because with its effect, it is auto limit 1. If your Red Jiren card with Evolve is played, you draw a card and then choose it to one of your Toppo Force of Obliteration Unisons and give it 2 markers. So if you play both this with the Unison, you can get a lot of markers, but then I haven't really thought about putting it together because I feel like just on its own it's good. You could, instead of Dispos, like having the Kunchi, you can potentially just go 4 Dispo instead of 2 Kunchis because you can still play out the Dispo and it gives a bit of draw power. I'm still trying to test it. Just this is my first initial thought of using this Dispo. The more I've looked at it, in the beginning I was just, this isn't great. It's got no protection. It's going to be easily removable and it just gets you a draw per turn. But then the draw is just either player's turn. So if you play it with a Unison, like it's intended to do with the Toppo one, you can kind of like evolve on your opponent's turn, draw a card of that. So I'm going to give it more of a try. This is my first initial build. If I come up with a better build and like give it a test, might even try it in the locals, then we'll potentially get cooking with this and kind of see if Jiren actually has returned, if his gets a lot better. And yeah, this is why I'm kind of been stuck on it. Like the Kunchi gives it that protection, so you don't need to run too many of, but then you can run a full four of, and then still get a multiple out, even though there's only limit 1. So if you've got multiple out, then you don't have to worry too much about one getting removed because you have another one. And the Ditto kind of gets a bit more draw power because then when you evolve with the 4 drops and 5 drops, they replace themselves. As I said already, they replace themselves. So they come down, they draw a card, and then do some other potential things. And the Dispo then gets you an extra draw, and if you got Toppo, get more markers on it. So being able to draw 2 off of your evolves every time you evolve a 4 drop during yours or your opponent's turn. Every time you draw off it, you're plussing 1 on the first evolve, which is really nice. Just need, like, it seems really good, but I just need to give it a test, see how it might fare. I do need to switch up the things around if I do want to incorporate a Unison, because you can potentially incorporate the Toppo Unison as well. Because one of the nice things that I feel could be pretty amazing for this deck is using your leader to, off the top 7, play out the Jiren Tempered form, ping that in, use the effect of 3-player Unison from your hand, then lose your 1 energy you've got that you charge first turn to play out the Dispo, and then you play on top of the, use the Toppo to potentially play a 1 drop from hand, evolve on that Jiren you played out into one of the 4 drops, draw a card off itself, off the 4 drop, and then draw a card off Dispo, give 2 more markers to your, give 2 more markers to your Toppo Unison. And then so your Unison's now at 4 markers. Well, no, 5 markers because it's got 2 from the Dispo, plus 1, started with 1, and then got 1 from the fact you evolved that turn. And then at the end of the turn, play another 1 drop out, and on your opponent's turn, evolve on top of that new 1 drop you put down. To then get the benefit of it, draw 1, get more markers on your Unison, and basically just rank up the markers on your Unison. So it's on a ton of markers and keep drawing a bit more for. Like as I'm talking about this, I'm like rethinking the deck, but that come at a later date. I will update the list at a later date after I do a bit of testing because I don't want to really put out lists that are theory. Like this one comes with other decks that are proven and tested. This is a more theory one now. But yeah, this is just deck I do enjoy this support. I do as time goes on, it just gets better and better. But yeah, that's it. Like the play lines are pretty standard with Jiren as well. As if you want me to quickly go over them, it's just normally try to awaken as soon as possible. Use to get basically make sure you're using the effective lead. Just get those one drops out, build a board, and you want to just go wide. You just want to go wide and hammer down, and be aggressive as possible because you're an aggro deck. You're trying to be as aggressive as possible, and the best cards in the deck are the 5 drops because they have that protection. Like their protection might be removed from skill, so you can take life to help you awaken if they do that. Try to remove it by skill. You always want to try with the 5 drop as well to go 1 drop, 4 drop, then the 5 drop. So that way, if there's ever a situation where you don't want to take a life to protect yourself, you can attach a 2 underneath it. And the 2 underneath it is never a problem because if you got the Journey Avenger underneath it, after that goes to the drop, you're using that to get another 5 drop at your deck, try to get more down. Because every time it's on board, the Jiren is swinging for twice for 19k, which is pretty good. And it's an easier type to stick around, so if you want to defensively use Jiren Zenith of Power, you got that ability as well. So I'm gonna be looking forward to getting those cards and testing this out for when the anniversary box set comes out. Hopefully it comes out soon. I'm not really sure when it comes out. But if you have any questions about the deck, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll answer as best I can. If you have any suggestions, do feel free to comment. It's nice to get a bit of help on this deck because it's not just me working on it. I know there's other people that love it. I know there's a Jiren group as well, Universe 11 group. So if you have any suggestions, I don't think of everything. There are some things I might miss, and you might have an idea that I've never thought of that could be amazing. So I do like to see people's suggestions to even try them out as well. If you want to see some gameplay of this, then I'll try and get some out as soon as possible. I need to get back this deck because I did sold my collection and then quit for a few months, and I'm back after seeing the Gogeta deck and I'm kind of hyped again to play. So I will be looking to get this back, play it, and yeah, just put Jiren back on the map. So if you enjoyed that, thank you. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.